Welcome to Sports Debaters. I'm Will.
And I'm Henry.
And after two of the most exciting days I can remember in recent history,
I mean, what a tournament. The first round, there are no perfect brackets. Will, what was your favorite upset?
you know, I watched so many games and so many amazing upsets. Mercer over Duke. There's too many to name, but
there are too many to name.
I think the Stephen F. Austin one definitely had me going because that one, insane. The 4-point play with 3 seconds to go. There's nothing like it. It's tournament time and there's nothing like it.
The Lumberjacks were on a roll with that 4-point play with 3 seconds left to go into overtime.
Exactly.
What an exciting finish.
VCU had its chance. It missed its free throws, came back and it cost them. I just cannot believe that he hit a 4-point play to go into overtime.
What we learned from just the first 2 days of this tournament is that if you do not take your chances, you're not going to win your game.
Absolutely.
Let's look at an NC State winning by 15 points at one time.
16 with 8 minutes to go.
And they can't hit a free throw for their life.
They missed
16. That is unexcusable.
In just the second half.
And you have to tip your hats to St. Louis.
Absolutely.
That was such a well-coached game.
Coming back.
They came back, and with a little luck, they're into the second round, and they play Louisville.
And you look at just the competitiveness of this tournament. There's really only been 3 or 4 true blowouts out of 32 games, which is remarkable. Every single game has been close. 2 seeds, 1 seeds, all close. Virginia losing at halftime. Kansas tied at halftime. You look at so many different teams.
I agree.
Arizona struggling with Albany. Wichita State was the only 1 seed that didn't really have a challenge.
No, I completely agree with you. Even teams like American, who ended up losing by 30 points at the end of the game, they were tied.
It was an 8-point game at halftime.
Yeah, exactly. There are so many great games, and look at Kansas. I thought my team was going to get knocked out in the first round.
Exactly. Villanova and Milwaukee, that was a close game for a while. You just look at
Manhattan,
every single one. Thank you for mentioning that. As those who watched last week, Henry just completely disregarded my Manhattan pick.
I did not think the Jaspers would give Louisville a chance.
Louisville a run for their money. Up 3 with 2 minutes to go. They had their chance, and Luke Hancock, man, I hate that guy.
Well, once again, the Jaspers couldn't close them down on defense.
But then you also look at a lot of the upsets. Dayton.
Yeah.
First game of the tournament. Dayton over Ohio State on a layup with 3 seconds left.
That
started off
first
the tournament.
game. My bracket was busted already. So that's how it goes every year for me.
Exactly. It was just such an exciting game, and I'm looking forward to another exciting day of matchups day as they just get better because all the teams that upset now play the 1 and 2 and 3 seeds.
Let's start with going over each game. Let's analyze each game. Will, Florida, Pittsburgh, who you got?
Florida struggled against Albany.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh did not struggle against Colorado.
Obliterated them.
The biggest blowout
of the whole tournament.
So you look at this, and Pittsburgh's coming off hot. They're led by Lamar Patterson and Talib Zana,
exactly.
2 great players. Patterson leading the team in scoring, Zana leading the team in rebounds. And I look at a Pittsburgh team that is hot right now and a Florida team that is struggling. But the fact that Florida has 4 seniors, this is their group, this is their last hurrah, I still got to give the edge to Florida on this one just because I don't see Scotty Wilbekin letting his team lose. I don't see Patrick Young and Will Yaget and some of the other players, sophomore Michael Frazier, a lot of really good players. I don't see them letting their team lose this early.
We also saw in the first round that the teams that are most experienced, like for example Mercer starting 5 seniors, are the teams that are going to go far in the tournament.
But Duke is also an experienced team, so.
But they're leaded by a freshman, so I think that kind of hurt them a little bit. But let's get back to this game. Florida, very experienced. I think that they'll be able to edge. I think they'll be able to scrap a win by the Panthers, who are a very scrappy team, by the way. I think this game has a lot of matchup issues for Florida. Talib Zana is a huge center.
I am excited for this matchup. Talib Zana, Patrick Young, 2 huge physical guys.
Exactly. They're just going to be battling it out on the paint.
That is going to be an awesome matchup. And actually, this game has just started to get underway, so we'll try to give you live updates, see what we can do.
Yeah. Okay, so I say we both go with Florida, right?
Florida.
Next game, Stephen F. Austin.
The Lumberjacks.
The Lumberjacks versus the Bruins. Who you got, Will?
Stephen F. Austin right now is on a 29-game win streak. But UCLA is also very hot. They're not on that quite good of a win streak, but coming off the Pac-12 victory and that then beating a good Tulsa team, really. And I look at a Stephen F. Austin team really getting a miracle last night, and I don't know if they're going to be able to pull off another one against a really good UCLA team. I do think UCLA wins solely because they have a good offense, they have a good defense, they don't rebound the ball well, but neither does Stephen F. Austin, which is good for them, and they pass the ball very, very well. As they're 8th in the country in assists.
Surprisingly, both teams do not have that good of a big man. You got to remember, Kyle Anderson, he plays more of like a point forward position.
Exactly.
He's handling the ball, so he's not going to be down there getting all of the rebounds. Stephen F. Austin, they don't have anyone over 6'9".
But I look at Stephen F. Austin, who beat VCU yesterday, who didn't have anyone over 6'9" either. So what shows they can rebound the ball.
But VCU, the style of play, they're more of an up and down running the court. They're not feeding it to the big man. I've seen them play in person. That's not their style. So I think that's part of the reason that since Stephen F. Austin was able to handle the ball, they were able to beat VCU.
But my point was that VCU didn't have a bunch of second chance opportunities.
Okay, and so they're both pretty bad rebounding. We know that, but they both assist the ball well, have high field goal percentages, and I think that Stephen F. Austin is going to scrap by and get into the Sweet 16. History often repeats itself, Will. There's a 12 seed in the Sweet 16. I say the Lumberjacks go on.
All right, I had Stephen F. Austin in this game. As you listened to both Henry and I last time, we had this game. So Stephen F. Austin came through once for us. Can they do it twice for Henry, or will UCLA come through for me this time?
We'll see.
All righty, Henry. Dayton, Syracuse. I had Dayton. I said Western Michigan. Bad pick on my part, but I had Dayton, so it cancels it out.
Can't get everyone, but Devin Oliver, he is the do-it-all player for Dayton. He is the second leader in points at 12 per game. He leads them in rebounds and assists. If he has a great game, he's a senior. I bet he'll show up. I think they win.
I think Dayton right now is playing really, really well. I don't know if you saw the newspaper headline for the Dayton Daily News. It was the University of Dayton, making fun of Ohio State a little bit.
Yeah.
And they have the confidence. The whole city, right now, I don't want to say the whole state, but they have a lot of people rooting for them, and I think they're confident. Syracuse played very well against Western Michigan. They're playing well right now, but I might have to agree with you on this one. I think Dayton does make the Sweet 16 as an 11 seed, as they're playing really, really good ball right now.
Besides last year where Syracuse made the Final Four, they've been disappointing in the tournament in the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
I say that trend, I think it still happens. Dayton goes on to the...
Just bust your brackets even more.
Yeah, I'd say no one has the perfect bracket. Let's just see as many upsets as possible.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Stanford upset New Mexico. Kansas squeaked one out against Eastern Kentucky. Who wins this one, Henry?
Man, that is such a tough one. I have to go with Kansas, of course.
I do
I'm a
too.
huge Kansas fan. But I say it comes down to the wire. Kansas never plays well in these beginning games. I wouldn't be surprised if they were upset, Will. They usually disregard these early round games since they're used to getting to the Final Four. I say it happens again. I've seen my Kansas Jayhawks repeatedly lose to University of Northern Iowa that one year in the second round. I wouldn't be surprised if it happens again, I must say.
I think the reason for 15 seeds and 2 seeds coming close is you have to really recognize the 15 and 16 teams as they're really getting better and better. It's only a matter of time before a 16 seed beats a 1 seed. I'm saying 3 years tops. It doesn't happen. If it happens after that, I will be very, very surprised because I think 16 seeds, 15 seeds, 14 seeds are all getting better and better. It's more competitive. You look at 2004, 2005, 2006 tournaments.
It wasn't happening.
You saw the 1 seed and 2 seeds getting the Sweet 16 with ease.
It was not happening anymore.
It was almost like they should just go to the Sweet 16. They should have a bye there because it was so easy. But now you look at it, each game is competitive.
You can't take any game for granted in the
As we
NCAA
said,
tournament.
only 1 seed blew out a 16 seed. That's unbelievable. That speaks for itself right there.
And I think the reason why it's gotten so much more competitive is because of this one and done rule, right?
Right.
The top players are no longer the experienced top players like a Jabari Parker and Andrew Wiggins are in the NBA now. So the seniors for these smaller teams like Mercer are able to play more as a cohesive unit and have more experience, and they're going to be able to upset these teams. We see, like in Eastern Kentucky, they've been playing with each other for 4 years.
Right.
They're ready for this moment, and I think that this one and done rule kind of makes college basketball even more fun to watch because there's more upsets.
Absolutely. All right, Henry. Do you still have Florida coming out of the final, or do you still have Kansas going to the Final Four in this one, or do you have Florida or someone else?
I think it's going to be between Florida and Kansas. I say...
You just said Kansas is losing, maybe.
No, I said maybe. I did not say that they will lose. I mean, if Joel Embiid comes back healthy, which I'm betting my money that he is, I say they make it to the Final Four. He is too good. You can't... Patrick Young would not be able to go against
I'm going with Florida. Okay. Alrighty. Let's go to the East region, where Virginia played a close game against Coastal Carolina last night, and Memphis won in a very close game to George Washington that came down to the wire.
Yeah.
Who do you have, Henry?
I have to go with Virginia.
I do too. I think Virginia's playing well. I don't think Memphis is all that good.
I don't think
love
so
them.
either.
So I think Shaquille Goodwin's a very good player for Memphis, but
he is a great player, but they're a little streaky. They're a young team. Virginia's not. I say they go on.
Absolutely. Alrighty, Henry. Harvard, which a lot of people had as their upset. I didn't. I said I didn't think they could do it again, but they did. Harvard, or do you have Michigan State? I have Michigan State in this one personally, as I have Michigan State winning the whole thing. I think they're playing well. Adrian Payne dropping 41 in their first round game, unbelievable. Hit 27 at halftime. He's just a special player, and I don't see Harvard having anyone that can match up with him.
I understand that Michigan State, they're hot right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they will win this game. I have them in my Final Four personally, so I kind of have to go with Michigan State here. But I mean, Harvard is a really good
good
club.
Team.
I mean, we see Wesley Saunders, who drops 14 per game.
Mm-hmm.
They outplayed Cincinnati in that one. I was surprised because I like Cincinnati a lot. I was surprised by that. It seems like every year now that they're disappointing in the tournament.
Yep.
Harvard, second year in a row that they've won a game and 2 upsets. I mean,
they're building themselves.
They're building a great program at an excellent academic school. That's great.
Alrighty, North Carolina, another amazing game last night against Providence. Came down to the wire. 3 seconds left. James Michael McAdoo hits his free throw and gets his own rebound.
I called that. I thought Providence was going to win that game. So close, but I mean, that's how every game has been so far.
So UNC. Iowa State, let's not forget Iowa State's one of their best players, Niang, broke his foot last night in the North Carolina Central game, and that is a huge loss as he averaged 17 points a game. And that's why I have North Carolina in this one.
You do?
I do.
I still have to stick with Iowa State. They are still, you can't count out Edgem and Kane. They are a dynamic duo, the true Batman and Robin. And I say they lead the country in assists per game, 6th in points per game. They can light it up from 3. I say they keep going on and meet in the Sweet 16.
That would be a very good 6-3 matchup right there. Alrighty, UConn.
Ooh.
Forcing overtime against St. Joe's after being down for a good portion of the game.
My heart skipped a beat.
Nova pulled away from Milwaukee in the second half. Who do you have?
I think this is the first big upset of the round. Villanova loses. UConn goes on.
Alrighty, I think that's a very, very good pick, as I think it could happen. But I'm going with Nova. I think Nova is going to be able to pull off this one and then lose to the winner of Iowa State, North Carolina.
Really? Okay. I mean, I love Shabazz Napier. I don't think anyone can stop him right now. He was just getting to the rim at will.
He was the reason they won that game. He was willing his team to victory. Ryan Boatwright had a good game, but Shabazz Napier was the reason they won that game. And he's the reason they win almost every game.
This game's going to be really, really close.
I agree. So you still have Michigan State in your Final Four, Henry?
Yep.
Same here. Michigan State.
I say Michigan State comes out of the East.
Alrighty. Western bracket.
Okay.
Who do you have between Arizona and Gonzaga? A Gonzaga team that beat what many people thought they beat a sleeper in Oklahoma State. A lot of people thought Oklahoma State was a potential upset over Arizona.
Yeah.
And that can never happen now because Oklahoma State's out because Gonzaga upset. Technically not an upset, but in many people's minds an upset.
I mean, Gonzaga, they took advantage of their size over Oklahoma State.
Michael Dowers, very good big men, and then they also have a 7-1 big man who came off the bench and played excellent, and those two dominated Oklahoma State because Oklahoma State didn't have enough sides, and Arizona does though. They have a 7-footer in Caleb Tarzewski.
Yeah, he was actually a really big recruit coming out of high school. Every college wanted him. He's been somewhat of a letdown, but he matches up very well against the Gonzaga big men. And also, you can't forget about John Stockton's son.
Absolutely.
He is a baller at the point guard position. Reminds me a lot like his father. I say, though, that I could see an upset here, but I'm going to go with Arizona. I think Aragorn is too good.
I think Arizona, the reason is they have experience, as we said.
Yeah.
Nico Johnson leading the point, have some veterans on that team, and I think Arizona wins. Gonzaga has experience too, so it will be a close game. I do believe. But
I wouldn't be
Arizona.
surprised if it happened, but I'm going to stick with Arizona.
Alrighty. You said that your 12 seed to make the Sweet 16 and history repeats itself was Stephen F. Austin. Mine's North Dakota State. North Dakota State upset a very good Oklahoma team who made 13 threes against them. If you were to tell me before that game that Oklahoma were to make 13 threes, I'd say, Oklahoma would win easily.
Yeah,
but no. North Dakota State played great, scored the ball, played solid defense, and upset Oklahoma. San Diego State escaped in overtime from New Mexico State. So who do you have, Henry? I have North Dakota State. I think they're playing the best basketball in the tournament right now. They are unbelievable.
They've been scoring 75 points per game.
I really
San Diego State
led by Taylor Braun, one of their best players who didn't even play that well against Oklahoma. It was really Marshall Borkland.
It's okay.
And he really led them, and he's led them for a good amount of time. But I just think North Dakota State is really playing some very good basketball, and I don't love San Diego State because I don't think they score the ball all that well.
I agree. 196 in points per game. And they have a lot of solid players. They don't have that superstar, and they don't play very well together.
Right. I mean, if you look at San Diego State's stats as offensive stats, they average 70 points a game, 10 assists in the game, which is 329th in the nation. That's
basically almost worse than
it's basically an ISO. I mean,
it's and I don't think
and they are 202nd in field goal percentage. Let me tell you that San Diego State first in the nation in field goal percentage.
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State first in the nation in field goal percent. That is the reason why they are efficient. They shoot the ball well.
They do,
and they're led by a very good team. They play a lot of players. They don't have a short bench. They play a lot of players.
Very deep.
And Winston Shepard from San Diego State had a good game against New Mexico State. But besides him, I don't know, Dwayne Poley maybe. But
Dwayne Poley actually played very well.
They just don't have that player in crunch time that they can say, give him the ball, and I know he will score.
I would agree with you. San Diego State almost gave up their game against New Mexico State. They were winning with 5 seconds to go. All they had to do was inbound the ball. The guy let it slip through his fingers, and it went out of bounds.
Yep.
I could not have believed that. I thought that they were going to lose that game. I say, since they're in the second round, I say they go on, but expect a close game.
You say San Diego State goes on?
I do.
Alrighty.
They're experienced, and they've played in some really tough environments.
We each disagree on our 12-4 matchup so far.
Okay.
So, North Dakota State, San Diego State should be a really good game.
Okay, now on to the next one. Baylor,
Creighton.
Baylor beat Nebraska. Kind of surprising in my eyes. I thought Nebraska was going to win, but they just could not shoot the ball.
Exactly. I think if this matchup were to happen again, it would be a much closer game. As Nebraska shot 22% in the first round from the field. Ooh, that is brutal.
That is a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely brutal.
Yep.
That's why I have Baylor on this one. Excuse me. That's why Baylor won that game, obviously. And Creighton had a very close game against Louisiana Lafayette. They were down.
They won by 11, but it was a lot closer.
It was not an 11-point game. I can tell you that they were down 5 with about 3 minutes to go until Doug McDermott took over the game and hit three straight threes.
How many times has Doug McDermott taken over a game this year? It seems like every single one.
And that's why I think Creighton wins this game. Doug McDermott simply won't let his team lose this early. I think if they get to the Sweet 16, it's different. But against a very good Baylor team, for sure, a team that has very bright uniforms that could distract Creighton.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw those, but
a little bit of an eyesore when you're watching the game. I think Baylor, they did not deserve the game against Nebraska. I think Nebraska kind of lost it. They didn't really play that well. Creighton, it's going to be a different story. They shoot.
Do you think Creighton can match up against Baylor's big man Isaiah Austin?
That's a good question. I don't like Isaiah Austin. He's not really a big man. He wants to go out and shoot threes at a 7 foot. That's not his strength. He should be in the paint. I don't think he's all that good. I say Creighton goes on.
Alrighty, I agree with you on this one. I think this will be a good matchup, but Creighton is just too much experience, really.
Yeah, and they have the best player in college basketball.
Exactly, they absolutely do.
Okay.
All right. Oregon got by pretty easily against BYU. Wisconsin got by very easily against American.
Well, I said they went on a 30-0 run in the second half of
the original podcast that Oregon was going to win this game, and I'm sticking with it. I think Oregon is very athletic. I think they're very quick. They score the ball at ease.
They do.
Wisconsin, not very, very good team. And they talk about one of Bo Ryan's best offensive teams he's ever had. I mean, they're very efficient in their scoring, score a lot. But I got to go with Oregon on this one.
I don't think they match. I don't think Wisconsin matches up very well against Oregon. Would you agree?
I think it can go both ways. I think you could say Oregon doesn't match up well against Wisconsin because Wisconsin has big men that shoot threes. But the fact that Oregon is so quick and so fast, gets out in transition so easily, and that their game is transition. That's why I have Oregon in this one, led by Joseph Young, who averages almost 19 points a game. A very good player in him.
Yeah, and also you can't forget about Mike Mosner. He's a great player as well.
Averages 8 rebounds a game.
I mean, I think that Oregon scores a lot of points. Wisconsin does too, but they're more on. They play very good defense.
They shoot the ball. They shoot the 3 ball very well. Wisconsin does.
I don't think Wisconsin's going to be able to stop Oregon in transition.
I think if Oregon gets out in transition like they do
against BYU
against their other opponents, Oregon will win this game. But if Wisconsin's hitting their shots, they can't get into transition.
That's true.
So it really all depends. I mean, if
those are the 2 deciding factors.
Exactly, Wisconsin can easily come out and hit their shots, as we've seen it before. They do shoot the ball very well.
But I think Oregon's too athletic, and they're going to disrupt the threes.
Too.
And so I say, if that happens and Oregon gets out in transition, Oregon upsets, and I say we both agree on that
I agree. Oregon all the way. Oregon in my Sweet 16 as a 7 seed. I like it.
Okay.
Alrighty. Who do you have coming in the Final Four out of this one? I think I believe, if I was right, you had Creighton last time.
I had Creighton.
Are you sticking with it?
I'm sticking with Creighton.
All right, I'm sticking with my my Arizona one. I don't think Arizona is really deserved of a Final Four bid, but I don't see anyone in this bracket that can beat them.
I think Creighton can give them some fits with Doug McDermott, and I think Doug McDermott and Aaron Gordon would be a really, really interesting matchup.
It would be,
but I think Doug McDermott would actually win that. He's more experienced, he shoots better, and he's more savvy. So I think if we got to the Elite 8 matchup of that, that would be really, really cool to see.
I just don't see anyone able to beat Arizona, but if Arizona in a different bracket, I would most certainly not have them in the Final Four.
It's somewhat of a weak bracket, I would say, and I think that a team maybe that did not deserve it in a different bracket, I think someone's going to slip by the Final Four bid.
All right, let's move on to our Midwest bracket where Wichita State opened up last night, destroying Cal Poly. They're now playing Kentucky tomorrow, when Kentucky beat Kansas State last night. Who do you have in this matchup, Henry? This is a very, very intriguing matchup.
It is a very intriguing matchup. Wichita State, very experienced. They play like a team. Kentucky has all the talent in the world.
Starting 5 freshmen.
Julius Randle looked really good last night, actually. I mean, Kansas State could just not compete with them.
Right.
But at first, the last podcast, I did say that Kentucky would maybe upset Wichita State. I'm going to rescind that idea. Oof. I'm taking it back. Wichita State is going to actually go on to the Sweet 16 because they're more experienced. In Kentucky, they don't really play like a team, I must say.
No, I agree.
I mean, they just they just had more talent than Kansas State, and I think that's why they went on. Kansas State, I was not very impressed with. Wichita State, though, on the other hand, so deep, so many experienced players,
I mean,
For
it's
example,
the exact
Van
same
Fleet-
team. Exact same team that went to the Final Four except for one player.
Yeah, and I say they go on.
I said I wasn't exactly sure. Was struggling between Duke, unfortunately, and Wichita State. And I said Wichita State and then just immediately said no, Duke. No one can stop Jabari Parker. Well, now that Duke's out, I have Wichita State. I think that makes that one a little bit easier for me. But I think Wichita State gets by Kentucky. I think Kentucky gives them. I think that's a good game. Kentucky has a lot of talent. I don't know if Wichita State can match up with all their players, so there could be some high scorers. But I think Wichita State comes out on top, and I think they then advance. And I see them in my Final Four. I really do. After Duke, now that Duke's out of this bracket, I see them in my Final Four.
Interesting. Okay, next game, St. Louis, who just barely. I'm still.
I had North Carolina State, and that one still gives me credit.
I did too. I was confident. I thought that North Carolina State. Yeah, I did too. I was watching the UConn St. Joe's game. I thought that they had it in wraps. Couldn't make a free throw for their life.
Then when they do make a free throw, T.J. Warren steps over the line too early.
Just so many head-scratching moments in that game. Now, they're matched up against Louisville, who had a very close game. We've already talked about with
Louisville,
the Jaspers.
Manhattan. I had Manhattan. I almost won.
But you didn't, and it's so many games have come down to the wire like that. It's going to be an interesting matchup with Jet for St. Louis.
Jordan Jet.
And Russ Smith. 2v1, I say Louisville wins because they have two experienced and very good point guards, and St. Louis only has one.
St. Louis also cannot match up with Montrezl Harrell. He is a beast for Louisville, and that is why I have Louisville
and the
win
stretch
this game.
four with Luke Hancock, who can go out there and shoot some threes. I mean, he saved Louisville's behind in that game.
100%.
Yep.
Alrighty. Tennessee blew out 6th seed UMass. Well, Duke.
That was.
Mercer comes out of nowhere, beats Duke at really. Mercer outplayed Duke. It's not like Duke. Well, sure, Duke didn't shoot the ball well. None of their starters shot above 45 or 40% in that game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at Jabari Parker going at like 4 for 14 or something like that.
No, he played Jabari Parker. Let's be honest. He said after the game, this season was incomplete. That's what he was quoted saying. It was incomplete. He went out in the first round. We were expecting so much more from him, and he didn't deliver. He didn't play well. Mercer, experienced as we talked before.
Starting 5 seniors, as we said.
5 seniors. They play with 10 to 11 players, very deep. I think that
they have some good players, as Langston Hall averages 15 a game almost.
That game was not a fluke. We have to understand that Mercer is a very good team.
Mercer is a very, very good team, as they beat a very good Florida Gulf Coast team to get into the tournament.
They did it. The championship game, they outplayed. I was surprised. I was kind of rooting for Florida Gulf Coast, obviously, because we all know about them. But this Mercer team is arguably even better than that Florida Gulf Coast team.
I think they've proven they're better now.
Yeah.
As I think this Mercer team can. I mean, you look at you're guaranteeing yourself a double-digit seed in your Sweet 16 with Tennessee, and Tennessee.
Not many people had that.
Led by, Josh McCray and Stokes, the big man, who has 20 double-doubles this year.
Yeah, that's
unbelievable.
I believe third most in the NCAA.
And that's why I think Tennessee does pull this one out, simply because they have that inside force that I don't know if Mercer can match up with.
I'm not sure that Mercer might not have that, but they're more experienced and they shoot the 3-ball really well.
I think both are Cinderella stories. Both have that Cinderella in them, have that chance to go far. But I mean, athletically, more skillful. Tennessee is that team that is more athletic and more skillful.
Yeah.
And I understand that Duke was that team too, and they lost. Yeah. But I just think that Tennessee doesn't have the pressure like that Duke had. Duke had the pressure on them coming down the last 5 minutes.
That's a good point.
To pull out. And Tennessee's a Cinderella. Mercer's a Cinderella. They both think they're Cinderellas. So that's why neither of them will have pressure.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a great game because, there's nothing on their shoulders. They're just playing. They're playing extra basketball. They're playing extra basketball. No one thought that they would be here, so they're just going to go out and play. I have Mercer. You have Tennessee. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
That'll be one heck of a game.
It's going to be a great game.
Alrighty, Henry. Texas wins at the buzzer over Arizona State.
Oh my gosh.
Unbelievable game.
Man,
Michigan.
That came down to the last seconds.
It was a buzzer beater.
Yeah, it was.
Buzzer beater. So
Yeah.
you look at a Texas team playing a Michigan team that made it to the championship last year. This is Texas' 5th straight NCAA tournament appearance. Who do you have in this one?
There are a lot of matchup problems for Michigan in this game. They don't have a big man who can go up against Texas, who is the biggest team in this tournament. I say that Texas is going to shock Michigan because I think if they, just like in the Kansas game where they just kept on feeding the big man in that game, I say if Texas can do
Cameron Ridley had himself one heck of a game.
Yeah, if they can just keep on feeding the big man, they're going to win.
I agree.
like Nick Stauskas. He's a very savvy player. He can shoot the 3-ball. He can get into the paint. But if you just don't have size, you're not going to win.
Absolutely. I mean, it comes down to rebounding, and Texas is one of the best rebounding teams
They're
in the nation.
in the top 10.
I was going to say top 10, averaging 41 a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at Texas, I just see them getting second chance points after second chance points after second chance point. So I think that's why I have Texas in this game, simply because of the rebounding
And
factor.
it's just too bad that Mitch McGary has just been out for this whole season.
Right.
If he was playing, Michigan probably would have had the 1 seed, and they would be a lot more better than they would have be able to match up against the big man of Texas.
Absolutely. So who do you have coming out of this one? Now that Duke's out, you have Michigan at a 2 seed, Louisville at a 4 seed, Wichita State as a 1, and who even knows what could happen?
Really, that's so true. I say Louisville is going to make it out. I really like the backcourt of Chris Cook and Russ Smith. I mean, they are a very good duo.
The reason I don't have Louisville is Russ Smith almost cost them the game against Manhattan. He took ill-advised shot after ill-advised shot.
That's just how he is, Will. But you have to understand, that's the type of dynamic player he is.
It seemed to be at an extreme level against Manhattan where his players, it got to the point where his players were yelling at him to pass the ball because he wouldn't even go the possession passing the ball. He would come up, dribble the ball, take some crazy layup, miss it, Manhattan would go down and score. It happened time after time. Rick Pitino sat him down, yelling at him, Montrezl Harrell yelling at him, and that's why I think Russ Smith, they call him Rusticulous for a reason, but he almost cost his team the game, and Luke Hancock saved his butt.
I still think, though, that Russ Smith is so experienced. I think he'll be able to get over this. He's been able to get over so many obstacles throughout his whole career at Louisville. This is just another one in the road. He'll be able to do it. Louisville in the Final Four.
Wichita State. Shockers are going to shock a lot of people again like they did last year, I think.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see.
We will most certainly have to wait and see. This will be, I hope, the second and third and fourth round just keep getting crazier and crazier as we've already seen one of, if not the craziest first round in history.
I have to agree. And before we go, you might be wondering why I'm wearing a Real Madrid jersey. It's because the Champions League draw has finally come out for the quarterfinals. It's Real Madrid versus Borussia Dortmund, PSG versus Chelsea.
You look at Man United
versus
Bayern Munich.
Wow, what a game. And one more game. I'm kind of blanking on it right now, but it's going to be a great quarterfinals, I believe.
Alrighty, that's all we have for today. Sit back, watch some more basketball as there's just nonstop all day. A lot of good games, a lot of potential upsets, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.